Tonight we have the ultimate credit sweep playbook, and there's 5 different roadmaps that we're going to go over and that you can access using the link down in the description. All right, so we have the dispute process, 3 different rounds, 3 rounds and scenarios dealing with verified results. You know, when the bureaus come back and say, hey, guess what? You're crap out of luck. These are verified, and then establishing credit. And you can access this using the link down in the description. And it's a total of 43 different pages of documentation. All right. And you get all of these process maps. All right. So use the link in the description if you want. You can never get lost with these playbooks. You're very simply going to come down here and add any of these to your order if you want to. And that's it. You'll get access to it. All right. So if you want to just follow along with me, then you could do that as well. Completely up to you. So let's make this just a little bit bigger, and we're going to start at the top. Now, yes, I do speak a little bit quickly, but that's because you and I both don't have a long time to go over this. All right. So if you want to know how to remove virtually anything from your credit report, then you need to follow a repeatable map. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. So you're going to start always with a credit file analysis. All right. Always need to start with a credit file analysis. All right. So there's 30 days in between all of your disputes, and we start at the top of the hierarchy, right? So when it comes back and it says, hey, guess what? These are verified as accurate. When you obviously know there's been no investigation, we're going to reanalyze. You don't just skip to the next dispute. No, you need to know exactly what you're disputing, why you're disputing it, and exactly what you're going to say. Again, you're going to wait 30 days, and we're going to do round 2, right? We're going to use the next thing on the hierarchy, but we're adding something in here, our collector and our creditor disputes, right? So we actually have a branch that goes down and goes off to, on one side, the bureaus, the other side, the collectors and the creditors, okay? Yes, there is a science to doing this. It's not just where you're ambiguously, choosing some dispute reason or, trying to figure out like, well, hey, what letter do I send? No, there's a science to this, and if you follow this, you will virtually always get results, okay? So every single round, we're doing the same thing. Reanalyze, find the next possible best dispute reason taken directly from your credit report, okay? Now, round 3, we're also going to add in method of verification and go down the hierarchy, and then we're going to reanalyze. And round 4, independent investigation, next on hierarchy, reanalyze, and then we're going to escalate and go to the CFPB, all right? Now, let's look at the other things that we can do. So with our creditor disputes, we're doing round 1. We're going to do round 2. As you can see, these all connect, and we're waiting 30 days in between. We're doing a collector creditor round 3. And then escalation CFPB. All right. Now, here's a little bit of a caveat. All right. There's a couple of things that we can do here. We can also overshadow with positive credit. We can use indirect dispute techniques. We can go towards lawsuit, and then again down to the CFPB. All right. So there's a couple of different ways that you can handle this. All right. So don't always think that you should be jumping straight to the CFPB, because that is not the way that this works. And if you do that, you're going to be locking yourself out of a lot of different ways that you can be removing permanently your negative items. All right. So let's go over to the next one. And of course, we're going to start with an analysis. We're going to go to round 1. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Right here, it says 30 days between all disputes. So for round 1, we're going to send it out, and if verified as accurate, move to round 2 to the bureaus. Now, if it was verified as accurate, move to round 1 collector. Okay, so again, we're not just disputing with the bureaus. So if round 1 collector came back as verified as accurate, move to round 2. Okay, so that kind of follows a pretty straightforward process. Now with the bureaus, round 2, if there's no deletions or they didn't respond or whatever, we have an escalation. So if it's verified as accurate with no, nothing furnished from the collector, use this against the bureaus and require proof of investigation, proof of signed contract pursuant to section 609. Now, there's other things that we can do in here as well, but I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So we have our escalation with round 3. We had the key to the credit sweep with round 3, which is entering the notice of dispute. And this goes for both the bureaus as well as the collector. All right. If you want to know more about how to remove collections from your credit report, I'm actually making a totally different process for that specifically, step by step. All right. And I'm probably going to build this out somewhere else, but this is kind of what it looks like right now. All right. So now we're always documenting our violations. And this is because we're going to be escalating and going to the CFPB, all right? So you're going to want to make sure that you log your violations, send the copies of your complaints with the dispute letters to the bureaus and the collectors, and include letter 3 as well as proof of failure to enter the required notice of dispute and failure to furnish, documentation. It's not just a signed contract, okay? So let's make a little bit of correction here. So it's documentation proving, right? Proving that the account is yours, that it is validated, it's accurate, all these different things, okay? If the bureaus are not responding, then these are the things that we're going to have to do to get them to remove this stuff. Because remember, they just use these federal laws as guidelines, all right? The only way to force the bureaus, creditors, the collectors to do anything is to continue to dispute the right way and build a paper trail, all right? So if they did not enter the notice of dispute pursuant to, the FDCPA or 623 FCRA, now we can go towards a lawsuit, or now we have proof and documentation to back up our CFPB complaint. All right. So that is round 3, or excuse me, a 3-round process. Now, if we go over to our 3 rounds, 3 scenarios, we're going to see a couple of different things here. So we're going to go and make this a little bit bigger. And I hope I'm not losing you with this, but this is why I'm providing the documentation for you to access it yourself. All right. So we have round 1. We always start with round 1. We always analyze first. If it is verified, no change, we're going to go to the next reason, right? We're going to choose the next reason on the hierarchy. And then we're going to add a challenge. And if that doesn't work, we can go down to the CFPB, because now we are on round 4. Another thing is we're also adding in our creditor and our collector disputes, okay? So that's what you're going to see right here with these like greenish blue plus symbols. So we have our bureau disputes, we have our creditor collector disputes. And another thing is, if there's no response, there's a different tactic that can be used. It goes no response, then notice of dispute. And then we're going to be sending our package with letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, circle the credit report page, proving inaccuracy to the CFPB. This all ends with the CFPB. And then of course, lawsuit at the bottom. But another thing is we can start with round 1. It drops down to frivolous. We go to new and relevant information taken directly off the credit report based on facts, right? And then go after proof of investigation, proof of independent investigation. This is pursuant to Cushman versus TransUnion from 1997. And we're also still disputing with the creditor and the collector. So I know I'm going to lose a lot of people with this because it's a little bit confusing, but this is why we have different scenarios. It's not just where you're sending out the same letter for everybody, okay? That does not work. This all ends with the CFPB because we have exhausted all of our remedies, all right? Now, when the bureaus come back and they say that something is verified as accurate, there's different things that we can do, but I've broken them down to be as simple as possible. So we're going to start with our analysis. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And I've broken it down between collection, charge off, public record, late payment, and inquiry. Okay. So we're going to go over this kind of quickly. Now remember, there's always 30 days in between our disputes. Okay. So let's make this a little bit bigger again. For a collection, we have bureaus on one side and we have the collectors on the other. All right. So we're doing an unknown dispute with the bureaus. We're just going to go bureaus first, then collectors. Okay. So unknown, collector didn't validate, method of verification, late payments past due on a collection, date last active, date last paid. And then it goes down to escalation with the CFPB. If you are disputing with the collector, which you should also be doing, you're doing validation of debt letter 1, validation of debt letter 2, validation of debt letter 3, letter 4. And now this, where it says validation letter 4, again, this is where you're sending a copy of your complaint and your intent to sue if you actually have an intention of suing. And then we're going down to the CFPB. All right, makes sense? If this makes sense, make sure to type down in the comments, yes, Kristen, it makes sense. All right, let's talk about charge-offs. And we are doing the same thing where we are disputing with the bureaus as well as the creditor this time, okay? So we're starting with date last active, notice of dispute, method of verification or date last paid, creditor didn't verify, illegal reporting or false reporting, and then CFPB. On the creditor side, it is a 623 original direct dispute. Proof, bureaus report something else, date last active or re-aged, violation, CFPB. All right. Now, over here, we have public records, and we're only disputing with the Bureau. So court date, plaintiff, or the court name, or the filing date, personal information is missing, method of verification does not meet FCRA requirements, illegal reporting, and CFPB. You see how everything ends with the CFPB? That is purposeful. Late payments. I wasn't late. The other bureau shows ... Proof of delinquency. Method of verification, false reporting, CFPB. All right. Now, for inquiries, we have the purpose under the FCRA. Where's my application? Proof of verification, creditor didn't validate, illegal inquiry, and CFPB. Now, for the creditor side, we're saying, hey, this is unknown. You didn't have, permissible purpose, application, proof, illegal reporting, CFPB. So as you can see, everything has a specific way of disputing, right? And once you follow this, I can promise you that you will see results if you haven't done it the wrong way a million times first. Okay. So if you want to get access to this, use the link in the description again. But the very last thing I want to go over is establishing credit. This is a very simplified version. So when we start, we're going to have our merchandise card. We can go self-lender, first premier, first progress. We can also go merchandise card to secured, Capital One Journey, Capital One Platinum, Capital One Quicksilver, Capital One Spark Classic for Business. We can also go down once we get the Capital One Platinum to Kohl's, Discover, Macy's, Boscov's. Once we have the Capital One Spark Classic for Business, we can also get Chase, Bank of America, and then lastly, American Express. So this is a very simplified version of understanding how easy it is to build out credit once you do it a certain way. And there's very specific things that you want to add. So again, if you want to get access to these 5 different processes and these roadmaps and what I'm calling the playbook, very simply, use the link down in the description. It's broken down here so that you can write your own notes under process documentation. So pools, tasks, and events. But otherwise, if this is something that you really just don't want to do, because it's a lot to understand, head over to my740.com, schedule a call with me, and we'll see if this is something that I can do for you, because I completely understand that, yeah, it is a lot. But when you understand how to use these playbooks, when you understand these roadmaps, when you understand the hierarchy, you will be able to get these things deleted. Okay. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And that is it.